Part 3. Part 3 is about multiplying complex numbers. And to multiply complex number, you are going to multiply each part of the first complex number to each part of the second complex number. And let me show you. So it's basically same as multiplying binomial. You're going to use FOIL, or you can use the box method if you prefer. And if you can think of it as distributive property, that's also something that you can do. So if you got 8 plus bi times 8c plus di, then here's what you are supposed to do. Well, first I multiply each term in the first parenthesis to each term in the second parenthesis. So a times c. And then I distribute a to the di, then multiply bi with c, and multiply bi with d. So it's first, and then outer, which is a and d, and then inner, which is bi and c, and then last, which is bi and di. So as you can see, first, outer, inner, last is how you multiply complex number. It's just like binomial. Multiplying binomial was just the same thing. Now, first, AC, outers, A times DI, inner, BI times C, and last, BI times DI. And what I need you to notice is that at the end, when you got B, D, and then I squared, we learned that I squared is what? -1. So eventually it becomes minus B times D. That's really important things that you need to notice. So if you now multiply examples like this, 3 plus 2i times 1 times 7i, we are going to use the same method. So first, 3 times 1, outer, 3 times 7i, inner, 2i times 1, and then last, 2i times 7i. So if you do that one by one, it goes like this. And now I'm multiplying it. So 3 times 1 gives you 3. 3 times 7i gives you 21i. 2i times 1 will give you 2i. 2i times 7i gives you 14i squared. Like I said, I squared, that is same as -1. So I can change this part into -1. Then it will become 14 times -1, which will eventually become -14. So it will become -14 minus 14 at the end. And now you combine like terms. So what I mean by like term is that you are going to add real parts and then imaginary parts separately. So real parts, 3 and -4, -14, you combine them, you get -11. When you combine the imaginary parts, which are the 21i and 2i, you will get 23i. Again, real parts, combine them together, I got -11. And imaginary part, I combined them together, and I got 23i. So that should be my final answer. So what I need you to do then is to multiply these examples. There are 4 questions that you are supposed to multiply together, and then I need you to answer question, how do you multiply complex numbers? This again has to be in full sentences, or you can use mathematical symbols to explain how you would multiply complex numbers. And lastly, this is something that we did, we can talk about later on, I to the power. So I just need you to multiply and get the answer, like which one should be real numbers.